battle starts. cruiser foundered. Off to a great start. Battleship foundered.
Torpedoes, dead ahead.
We've sunk an enemy destroyer. Battleship foundered. Enemy cruiser sunk. ship foundered.
Problem solved, sir. Capture that area. Forces, capture that area.
Battle ends in 5 minutes.